Good morning, everyone. I, as well, want to say thank you for coming out. I'm really excited to be here. I always love the idea of people who share the same ideology, creatives, designers, photographers, across the board, coming together, just sharing thoughts, expressions, and just maybe getting new insight into how to approach things. Thank you, CreativeMornings, as well, for allowing me the platform to be here. I got a little nervous when they said the theme was genius, because that's so interpretive. I wouldn't label myself that, but I was trying to think of a way, or what I was going to talk about, that maybe it's a path that leads to individual genius approaches or genius things. So before going into that, I'm going to give a little bit of backdrop to myself, give you guys some idea of who I am and where I've been and what I'm doing. So I'm going to use some of the photos that I've been doing for the past 15 years or so to kind of add some context to what I'm going to discuss. So let's start this off. So the idea I wanted to discuss today is passion before profit. I wanted to share something that I feel like I personally have experienced and I personally lived through. I'm 37 years old, so I've had a little bit of time under my wings, got a lot more to go. But this is a saying and a phrase that has definitely struck true to me, and I feel like sometimes it gets overlooked by a lot of people. Obviously, you find something you love doing in life or you have a big passion for it. Usually the next thought is like, well, how can I make money with this? How do I turn this into my living? And sometimes that can be a good or a bad thing, depending on your approach to it. So let's see if this works this time. So 37 years old, I was born in New York. This is a photo I made in 1999. From the time frame of probably 12 to 20, 21, I was totally consumed with skateboarding. That was my background, that was my everything. Nothing in life really mattered at that point. Missed out on like school prom, like all the usual things I guess teenagers would do, because I was so engulfed in the passion and the feeling that I had from skateboarding. But also photography was a side outlet during these times. So this was taken on the train going into the city to skate, with a disposable camera. At that point, digital wasn't really a thing, but one of my favorite photos of New York, and I think it's for obvious reasons why. I have a lot of friends who live out there. Took this view for granted and never actually made any photos of the Twin Towers. So yeah, so living in New York for a while, then relocated to Los Angeles. Drastic change of landscape. So this, for example, I do a lot of aerial work when I can. So this is an aerial photograph over, obviously, Los Angeles. Made this one the other month, but again, just using the context of my photos to kind of shed some background. Grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and once I was out there, that's when I discovered skateboarding. I discovered the whole subcultures around like 1992. And it definitely changed my life, changed my perspective. The thing I liked most about skateboarding was you go outside your door, you do it, there's no rules, no coaches. I wasn't really into the team sport kind of thing. I loved the creative outlet it gave. At that time, it was a subculture. It wasn't, necessarily the cool thing to do. The popular thing to do is kind of actually socially looked down upon, because I don't think too many people understood it. But the ideas and experiences that I had with skateboarding allowed me to develop more as an individual, I think, over the years. And even when I got really into photography, it assisted with my approach and my outlook to that. Let's see if the remote works again. So again, this is a photo I made of my friend Schmatty. He's a professional skateboarder who actually skates for my company Visual. Really cool guy. But again, just kind of demonstrate, the freedom of it, it's interpretation. When you're out skateboarding, you see, if you're walking down the street, you didn't skateboard, you just say, oh, it's a blue cement block. But to a skateboard, that's a creative outlet. It's interpreting things in a different way than most people might see it. But that passion, it was just insane, like thinking back to how much it consumed me, to be that age range of a teenager and have no interest in anything whatsoever. Maybe I was just closed-minded, tunnel vision, whatever you want to call it, but I realized something later on in life is, a passion of sorts, whether it's skateboarding, drawing, making films, making music, whatever it may be. And I started to question what that meant. And to me, it was just a fulfilling feeling in life that not many people actually just truly discover. sometimes you follow things and you do things based on merits or based on how much money am I going to make? Is this cool? Is this going to be socially acceptable? Is this going to make me famous? There's a lot of variables. But I realized with this, looking back, that I was just doing it because I was just so happy to be able to walk out my door, go skate every day, you know, and it wasn't about, oh, this is going to be a great career thing for me. It wasn't any of that. It was just, this really makes me purely happy in the rawest form possible. So like I said, I did that from about 12 to 20. And then I think for a lot of us, a lot of people in life, something happens. I guess when you start to grow up, when you know, I mean, it's sad as it is, you know, the responsibilities of life really start to kind of fall in, and, you know, a lot of things can happen. So, see if this next thing works. So, I left this blank intentionally because you find your passion, you're doing it, reality sinks in, adulthood sinks in, and, you know, yeah, you do have to make a living, you do need to create finances, you kind of start falling into maybe a mental trap, is what I would call it. You kind of start to lose base. You start to lose touch and lose base with that thing that you just did, that feeling. You know, and I see it in children, they have it, you know. They have it probably up to about 18, 19, 20 when, you know, your parents are telling you college, work, job, do this, do that, and you start feeling the pressure, so you get distracted by a lot of things. I myself went through that, and was trying to figure out what it was. Like, okay, well, skateboarding, it was fun, but now what's next? So I landed a job doing some production stuff at about 21, 22, and fortunately it paid decently for my age and everything, and this is the next photo. This is a photo I made of Floyd Mayweather at the Bad Boy reunion tour. For some reason he came on stage with lots of money and just throwing it to the crowd. So I feel like, in context to what I'm saying, we go from that age of like having fun and not really caring about much other than that thing that makes us happy to, well, money. And I just felt like this photo was kind of humorous and just, you know, a bunch of people and he's holding money. This is the dream, right? This is the American dream. And that's what I felt like I got very distracted, because to go from having so much fun with something so pure, not worrying about money, to now having a job that gave you money, it's hard to interpret and digest sometimes. So obviously I went the route of, you know, oh, I got money, I'm gonna get this kind of car, I'm gonna buy these kind of clothes, I'm gonna do all this kind of stuff that I feel like is what I should be doing, right? This is what we're supposed to do when you have money, you do these things. And unfortunately, God, for me, you know, this is probably around from 2003, 2007, 8, made good money and spent it as fast as I probably made it. You know, getting me into the situation, like a lot of young people, you know, heavily in debt. I made one smart investment, bought a condo, nearly lost that because obviously 2008 comes around and economy takes a tank. The money that I was making was slowly drying up. Wow, okay, let me rethink this in life. So it got to a point after a couple of years, 2009, 2010, where I really started to like just, the best reference I can say is whoever's seen Office Space, the movie, and the guy gets hypnotized and he just doesn't care anymore. That's what I did for myself. I was still doing photography through these years, 2001, 2002, up to this point, and it slowly kept growing into this passion, you know, something I started to realize this is what skateboarding was to me. So over the years it went like that, but I got to the point of financial, I guess, fatality, where I was thousands of dollars in debt, almost lost my condo, and at this point I had no major responsibilities, no kids, no wife, no nothing, and thought, Office Space, I'm just not going to care anymore. Because I can't do anything about it, so why am I going to stress something that I have no ability to fix right then and there? So in my time frame, I was thinking, well, what should I do then? If I'm not going to care about paying these bills because I don't have the money and I'm struggling. Let's see if this works right here. So the realization, skateboarding as a teenager, that joy and passion that riding a skateboard brought me, photography brought me that same feeling reinstated in life. This is a photo my friend Timothy McGurr Goes by the name 13th Witness Made. Out in New York, this was during a snowstorm in February, and below, I know it was probably 15 degrees, very cold weather, obviously. But again, the idea is this was fun. This wasn't, I'm getting paid to be in the cold and go run around and make photographs. This was just exciting to be able to do so, to be in an environment to do this. So as I was saying, I just threw that caution into the wind. I was like, let me follow photography and see where it goes. It wasn't necessarily which career can I pick or which thing can I do that is going to guarantee me the money, that's going to guarantee me a lifestyle, it's going to guarantee me all these things. I scratched all that. I honestly just felt like I just need to focus on what's going to make me happy. If I focus on what makes me happy, that's going to be like a ripple effect through everything else in life. If I'm in a happier mind state, I can really concentrate, figure out what I want to do out of life, how am I going to fix the situations that I'm in. I think when we're stressed or we're negative, it doesn't do anything for you. Creatively, in life, relationships, it kind of like just kills everything. But this, I don't know, I saw a lot of similarities with photography for myself, in the sense that you go outside your house, you bring your camera the same way I would bring my skateboard. I interpret the world as I choose to, as you can choose to through your lens and through your camera. It was just fun. It was just going out every day making photographs and self-fulfillment that was there. And it was very refreshing to realize again that wow, I have a second chance at a passion in life. I had it first with skateboarding. Now I have it again, and I kind of realized more so what I have this time around versus the first time. And I think it's pretty insane. I think everyone in this room probably has something that they love doing, regardless of anything. And it's really a trip when you think about how many people in life do not discover one thing that brings the same kind of feeling that we all probably get in this room from what we do. It's very, it's saddening, it sucks. And it's hard for people to understand how you could just sit in your room for hours, or you could walk the streets for hours, making films, doing whatever it is that you do, while some of them might feel the need to go out and buy a bunch of stuff to almost get the same feeling that we all get doing what we do. So paying attention to that, I never set out to make photography a career. I never set out, or one day say, okay, this is a thing I'm doing. People say I'm kind of good at it. How do I make money with this now? I never did that, because I think it's very important that when you do discover that thing you love in life, don't take it for granted. Don't, in a sense, whore it out. There's something to be said about, if you have a day job and you have this creative outlet, don't rush to milk it. Don't rush to cash in on it. Let it come, let it happen. There's a bigger power in saying no sometimes than saying yes to everything. And especially with this digital age, and don't get me wrong, all the social media is a great platform. Like, everyone has a level playing field to share what you do. But at the same time, people can get impatient. Whether it's relying on the follower counts, relying on success, relying on likes. I tell people, if you have a day job, keep it. Don't quit your day job, don't jump into it, because having that time allows you to nurture and develop your craft to what you want it to be. To not to conform to like a commercialism for the sake of, well, this is going to make me money. Because I think the worst thing you could do is take the thing that you love and turn it into a 9-to-5 feeling type of job. When you show up to do something and you're not into it, man, you're just kind of killing off what you're doing. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people, that's their goal. I've met with photographers and they'll ask for advice. I'm like, well, what is photography to you? And they'll say, oh, I want to make money with it. And I say that there's plenty of portrait, wedding photographers, e-commerce, high school portraits. But if it's something bigger to you, you got to really dig deeper to find that. And I've done commercial work because I do believe in, you got to experience things firsthand to be able to speak on it, to learn from it, to develop from it. And I've definitely learned now where if someone offers me a project or a job, the money is like the bonus. Firsthand, take money out of the equation. Am I excited to do this? Do I want to do this? Or, well, they're going to pay me, so screw it. I'm just going to not really be into a project I'm doing. And looking at that contrast of paid projects that I've done to stuff that I just walk around wasting my time every day, shooting, doing, I started to feel like that the work I was producing on my own, just for the sake of the fulfillment and the passion of it, turned out to be a little bit more interesting than, the traditional creative work. For me, this might be it's a photo to myself. It's not really something that many people might see, but I love just the interpretation of light and shadows and lines. I mean, just walking around New York, no exact idea other than just identifying with objects and imagery that struck me. And just making this photograph was far more appealing than a big check, than anything, because it's my interpretation of the world and as I'm seeing things. This one, I went to a train station in Jamaica, Queens, early, like 6 a.m., to get the harsh light of the sunrise. So originally I was out there kind of shooting the structures of the metal, the light hitting it, and then across a couple platforms to see this moment happening. And again, it's fulfilling. I mean, a lot of people, to wake up at 5, 6 a.m., drive outside of the city to go walk around with no guarantee of anything is probably, people might think that's kind of crazy. But I think if you are creative of some sort and you understand that drive, then you can definitely relate to it. So again, this is about the fulfillment of myself, not necessarily the aftermath of, well, this is going to make me rich, this is going to make me famous, I'm going to be popular in social media. Just making images. And again, I like this one. Just the 6th Street Bridge, obviously not here anymore. It was a cool piece of architecture. And I just like they would do a lot of these lowrider car shoots down there. This gentleman's daughter was kind of in the back seat peeking out. So I just thought it was like a cool little moment. There we go. All right. Again, walking around, this is Wilshire, Vermont Station in K-Town. I was catching the train. I live up in the valley, so catching the train back. And this little boy was walking around with his dad and his brother and waiting for the train, and just a beautiful moment, and I think there's something to be said, if you set out for the day and it's just strictly a financial gain type of thing, you're just going to produce a different work, because I generally feel like when I can see it through people's, what they're putting out there. The stuff that's like trying to be famous or trying to gain money, you can feel it. I think we all can feel it when you see that. Versus the people who are just doing what they do, what they love doing. And this is what I love doing. I love just being able to be there to interpret a moment like this through my camera. There's another one in the alleys over there by, in downtown. Originally what I was shooting was just, very simple, reflective of the building and everything. This little boy came by, his parents went off shopping to the right, and him being a kid and just trying to entertain himself, jumping across the puddle, back and forth, and one of those wow, I'm very fortunate to be here to make this photo, to kind of witness this moment. The idea too of youth, just having fun, doing whatever interested them. Definitely one of my favorite images. But I think that's the important thing to think, because in life, especially with photography, I feel very fortunate to have discovered this and to have being able to realize and witness, again, is something that I just love doing. And I love seeing people who have that same kind of energy, the same kind of passion. I don't know, after being younger, making some money and experiencing that and losing it all, the idea of photography when I picked it up again was it wasn't so much, again, how I'm going to make money with this, but it's if I can just get by doing this thing that I love, then I feel like I'm winning at life. I see a lot of my friends who work very high-paying jobs involved with stuff that they don't have an actual interest in. The money is the interest. For me, I just wanted more of a quality form of life. Again, just if I wake up every day, do what I want to do what I love to do, and if somehow that enables me to get by and make a life for myself out of it, then great. I just think that a lot of times today people are very hungry, and and I get it. I get the idea that this is what I love doing. I want to do this every day and make as much money as I can every day. And I'm sorry if I'm echoing myself, but it's just I think we see it a lot with people. The hunger is far stronger than the actual desire to create. see, I think that might be the last photo I have. Yeah, so that was the message I wanted to share today. It wasn't necessarily how to be genius, that I am a genius by any means, but just to serve as a reminder or maybe introduce the idea to some of you that, you know, if you love what you're doing, don't take it for granted, don't milk it, don't whore it out. Nurture it, craft it, realize that you're very fortunate to have discovered something in life that pushes you, that gives you this fulfillment that no materialistic thing can really do. And just nurture it, and also to nurture others with the same passions and the same ideas, because sometimes it is easy to get lost, it's easy to get sidetracked, you know, in this complicated world of devices and social media postings and weblogs and live streaming and all this different shit. At the end of the day, I think it just comes down to realize what you got and make the best of it, make the most of it. The one thing I didn't want to do when I was older is look back and wonder what if. What if I'd done things this way? What if I did it that way? But rather listen to myself and do it the way that feels honest and feels right to me. And yeah, I think that's about it. What's that?